Hello, my name's Paul Brown. I'm the Technical Advisor for Construction at City and Guilds, and I produced this PowerPoint presentation for those centres that are delivering our technical qualifications this academic year 2018-19. I'm basing it around the construction craft technicals, but the principles do equally apply to our construction and built environment offer 6720. So, as you can see, I've produced an agenda. So we'll have a look at the assessment requirements for the technicals, preparing for the assessment and some key dates. We'll take a look at the exam. We'll have a look at the synoptic assignment, moderation, and finally conclude with support. So hopefully, as you are aware, the technical qualification consists of two assessed parts. There's an assignment, which City and Guilds will set. The centre will mark that assignment, not grade it, mark it, and City and Guilds will externally moderate it and give it a grade of a pass, merit or distinction. And that would contribute to 60% of the overall grade for the technical qualification. The second part is an examination. Again, City and Guilds will set it. City and Guilds will mark it, and again they go through a moderation process, and there'll be an overall grade of a pass, merit or distinction, and that's worth 40% of the overall marks. Please note, in both cases, for both the assignment and the exam, there is only one reset allowed. Also, for post 16 key stage 5 technicals, there is a requirement to evidence employer involvement for each of the learners in terms of the delivery, content and or assessment of the technical qualification. To support you in this process, what we have on our website is a pro forma which you can use, or you can produce your own. You've got a choice there to complete, to actually plan and record the employee involvement that takes place with that particular cohort, and in particular with those with each learner. We've also got an exemplar. You can see a snapshot of that on the right hand side of this particular slide. So, for the qualification, as I said, you've got a synoptic assignment and then you've got a theory exam, and you can see there the kind of marks that are required in order to get a pass, merit or distinction for each of those. And then what happens is these points are multiplied by the percentage contribution of the assessment, and then they're aggregated. And then as you can see on the left hand side, you've then got pass, merit, distinction, distinction, star for overall grades, and the associated minimum points marks that are required to achieve those particular overall outcomes for the qualification. To help you with this, we produced a host of material. We've got a qualification handbook, which is effectively the teacher's syllabus. We've got this year's synoptic assignment packs are available for you to have a look at. They're on the website now. We've also got a series of reports. As you can see there, we've got a 2018 qualification report, principal moderator's report, and chief examiner's report. These are all based on last year's exam and synoptics. They are an essential read. It's what the moderators came across in terms of what was answered well, what type of questions weren't answered so well, and also general guidance and advice on how centres may improve the aspects of both the exam and the synoptic. It isn't on a national basis, so please do look at them. We've also got on our website is past papers with marking guides, answers, sample synoptic assignments, and some sample questions as well, as you can see. If you look at our web page, this is the bricklaying level 2, you'll do a series of tabs, and what I've done, under synoptic assignment, I've opened a tab which then opens up two further tabs, 2019 and samples. If you went into the 2019 tab, you would find in there this year's synoptic and the recording forms that are used to evidence the outcome of that particular synoptic. So please do have a look at those. And some further support, which is available on the bottom right. I've given the link there to our technical landing page. What you've got on there is the Welcome Pack 2018-19, which you all would have received now. We've also got the delivery checklist, exams timetable, employee involvement guide, marking and moderation guide, and a whole host of other documents. Can you please make sure that you actually look at these documents and take them on board? They are there to support you in delivering the technical. So we look at some kind of key dates for registration. The registration window closes on the 2nd of November, so please make sure your learners are registered. And the booking window for the synoptic in the exam, assuming you're taking it in this academic year 18-19, is the deadline for that is the 22nd of December. And as you can see, the synoptic window, so when the learners can actually carry out the practical synoptic in the case of the craft areas, opens them on the 4th of February, and by the 17th of May evidence needs to be uploaded on the moderation portal. You can see what I've given you there is some links to how to book the assessment on the wall garden, and there's also a short video there again to give you some support. While this slide looks very busy, and it is really, basically it's just an overall summary really, from start to finish I guess. So what we've got on the left hand side from September to December is you've got the registration windows and the deadline, which I've already mentioned, the same for the synoptics, and the exam booking again when the window's open and the deadline there. And then as we move on into the January to April section, the midsection, the first exam can be carried out. The deadline for submitting the employee involvement planner is also there, and during that period the synoptic is carried out between 4th February and the 17th of May, as we said earlier. And something that is new to the technical craft areas is there will be a moderation visit takes place. So that is something new this year for 2018-19. And then in the following term, really, that's May to August, so you can see you get the exam results for the first exam, the deadline for booking the second exam if the learner has failed or wants to resit to improve the outcome of the grade. You've also got a deadline for submitting the evidence on the moderation portal, and there's a guide there to support you in how you would do that, and also submitting by the 14th of June the employee involvement planner tracker that we mentioned earlier on the previous slide. And all results then you will get them mid-August, as you can see, under the August month, and then hopefully a successful outcome would result in a certificate being issued to the learner. So I mentioned earlier about this technical checklist. Now this is a really key and essential document. What it has is the key dates on for the academic year 18-19, but also some other advice and guidance, and it's a very useful tracker for you to use throughout the year to make sure you're on plan and you're doing what you should be doing in order to fulfill the requirements of the technical qualification. What we've also produced, I've given there just an example of a one-year delivery, just basically in a very simple form stating that's the first exam between February and March and the second exam opportunity in May-June, and the synoptic covers between February and May, as we stated earlier. I would suggest and expect that the craft technicals will typically be delivered on a one-year programme. But what we did last year, on the top right, we had some curriculum plans which had the key dates on them, and we populated them with the units and then perhaps a suggestion how you might want to deliver those over the academic year. But for this year, what we produced is the 2018-19 adaptable curriculum planner. So the idea is it's got the key dates on that planner, but this time it enables you to put the units on and then you to decide on what's the best way of delivering that particular technical qualification which works for you and works for your learners. As mentioned earlier, bookings are on the wall garden, and this slide really just gives you the process that you have to go through, so I'm not going to talk through it, you can see that for yourself. But what there is on the bottom is a very useful link to further guidance in reference to the use of the wall garden. So we mentioned earlier about the bricklaying technical qualification, and this is just a sample. It's the handbook, and they are different to what you're used to. You have a learning outcome, you have topics, and then beneath each topic you then have some more depth of what that actually topic involves. And again, just building up a bit more with regards to the examination on the bricklaying one, just as an example. It's a 2-hour duration exam, as you can actually see there. One thing to point out, there are 2 codes when you book the exam. You can have it either paper or online. If it's online, then you use the 003 number, and if it's paper-based, 503. Those numbers do vary within the trade area, so please make sure you use the correct one for your particular area. And then there's a bit more information there, the fact that it's a 48 multi-choice questions, it contributes to 40% of the overall grade, and as I said, you get a pass, merit, distinction as an outcome, and there's 1 reset opportunity only allowed. So there is an in-year reset opportunity for the exam. So if you took the exam in March, then the opportunity to resit would be in June. So just looking at the bricklaying qualification, there are 5 units there. You can see the titles there and the GLH. But only 2 of those units, 201 Principles Construction, 202 Building Cavity Walls, are actually in the exam. And what this table gives you, it gives you a breakdown of the number of marks within each of those units that are allocated. So you can see there's 18 and 30, and then the percentage. Overall, there are 60 questions there. So it gives you a breakdown. So please note, you are not being examined against all the units. In the case of the bricklaying one at level 2 is against those 2 units you can see on the slide. So again, please refer to your own particular handbook and look at the detail and follow it. So we've also produced an exam guide. Now this is different to each level, so level 2, level 3, and to each trade area. So it's specific to that particular qualification. What this gives you is details of the exam, length, timing, etc. What the kind of contents of the exam, and some guidance on the language that is used in the exam, types of questions you like to come across. So some general help and guidance there. And then as you can see on the bottom, in the case of this level 2, the exam is made of 60 questions, and there are knowledge questions for area 1. That's assessment objective 1, assessment objective 2, and assessment objective 4. It just gives you a bit more of a breakdown as to where the focus needs to be in terms of your teaching and learning. So we've also used Technical Qualification Teach and Learn Assessment document, and I've just taken a snapshot really of the tips that are in there, top 10 tips for preparing learners for an exam. And as you can see, we've also got some command words that are used in both the exam and the synoptic. So what you've got there is the actual prompt command word. You've got a definition of that. It is important that you and learners understand the definitions of these command words that are used within the technicals. So once the exam is completed, as you can see from this particular slide, then the results are available on the wall garden. If the learner wants to have a resit, then you can book them in for a resit. If they fail, you certainly would. If you want to improve their grade again, they can be booked in for a resit, and their best result outcome is what they will actually end up with. We've also got, as I mentioned earlier, examiners reports. This one's the bricklaying level 2, and this is the March exam, and it gives a breakdown of the grades that were allocated for that particular cohort of learners that took the exam on a national basis, and it gives you the pass rates. So some useful information there for you. But what is also in there is the examiner's commentary, in which they talk about what questions were answered well, what questions were not answered perhaps so well, and also some advice and guidance and tips potentially on how centres could perhaps get over some of these things that the markers, moderators had come across while marking the exams. So moving on to the synoptic assignment, there are 2 important documents that are on our website under the tab that I showed you earlier, 2019. We've got the assessment pack, and we've got the synoptic assignment recording forms pack. So there are 2 documents there that you do need to be looking at. So the synoptic assignment, very often there is a research or desk-based kind of activity. It could be producing a drawing to a scale, for example, but the bulk of it, or the main part of it, is going to be the practical, and these are typically 10 hours in duration. So again, can I just reiterate that there is only one reset opportunity with Synoptic, and there is no in-year Synoptic reset. So you do need to bear that in mind and prepare your learners well for carrying out the Synoptic assignment. And again, it is graded pass, merit, distinction. So I mentioned the recording form document for Synoptic assignments, and as you can see in bold within that document you'll have the practical observation form and the candidate recording form. This enables you to record what you actually see on the Synoptic, and there is a whole host of guidance available for you to actually complete those two documents. And then there are three other documents: the Centre Standardisation Declaration form you need to complete, a Declaration of Authenticity, and a personal interest form in some cases you may need to complete. Again, I've given a link there, so there's more information for you to have a look at, to see and have a read of what these other documents actually are and consist of. I mentioned earlier that moderation is going to take place for the first time for these craft areas, and the moderator is there to help and support you. What the moderator won't be doing is giving you feedback on the accuracy of your marking, or comment whether a candidate's likely to pass or fail. It does need to go through a moderation process. And then what I've given you there is a Moderation Portal Centre user guide, because when you've completed a Synoptic you have to upload a series of evidence, and again guidance for that is in the Synoptic assignment pack, recording document itself, but actually how you do that and access the portal is in that document that I'm showing there on this particular slide. So if you're responsible for uploading that, then please again have a look at that. And then finally we've got a whole host, as you would expect, of learning material. We've got enhanced smart screen packages which are more digitally interactive. At the moment we've got the bricklaying, we've got carpentry, we're looking at the paint and decorating and plastering for the future, for the next phase. We've also got a whole host of smart screen material that many of you are probably using now, which are all equally applicable to the technicals. And then on the bottom right I created 3 links, and these are a sample of the interactive packages or materials under the enhanced smart screen that are available, so you can click on those and just work through them as though you was a learner, just to give you some idea of what this new digitally interactive teaching material looks like. And finally, we do have a dedicated moderation support email and a dedicated telephone number. They're shown there on the slides. So if you do have any questions relating to the technicals, then please don't hesitate to either email or to telephone using those particular details on that slide. So I hope you found this presentation helpful, and I'd just like to thank you for listening. Thank you.